Today I want to go over something in Zechariah 14 that needs to be gone over with a fine-tooth comb because it's eerily written much like Haggai 2 verses 18 through 22, where it says in Haggai 2 verses 18 through 22 how on the day that the foundation of the temple was laid, aka Hanukkah, that's when the blessing, the great blessing on Israel is coming, and when the nations will be overturned, everyone by the hand of his brother. Well, there's something in Zechariah 14, it says the same thing. If you read in verse 1, it says, "Behold, the day of Jehovah comes, and your spoil will be divided in the midst of you. For I will gather Goyim against Jerusalem to battle. And the city shall be taken, and houses will be rifled, and women are raped, and half the city," that's East Jerusalem, "will be exiled. And the rest of the people that's in West Jerusalem are not going to be cut off from the city." At that point in time, that's when Jehovah will go forth and fight against those nations. Now I need to go to Strong's Concordance because I want to make sure you don't ever want to take the translator's word for it. And fight against, or it says fight Goyim, the day, devour, day of battle. So, it doesn't say as when he fought in the day of battle. It says, and they're going to be devoured in that day of battle. And his foot will stand on that day on the mountain of Olives, which faces Jerusalem on the east. Well, it says aforetime, 6924. The word is kadem. It does mean aforetime. Okay, make sure we get this right. But, so they say east, but it really means aforetime. And of course it talks about there'll be a great valley, and half of the mountain shall move toward the north, and half toward the south. And you shall flee to the valley of the mountains, those are people in Jerusalem. Now, when you read verse 6, this is the same as when the light is going to rise on Jerusalem, when the glory of Jehovah rises on Jerusalem, in Isaiah 60 and verse 1. Okay? Now, if you notice, when you read in verse 9, it says, "And Jehovah shall be king over all the earth, and that day there shall be one Jehovah, and his name one." Okay, here's what I'm pointing out in this particular chapter. It is not broken down in an exact timeline, one right after another. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not that. Okay? And verse 12 says, "And this shall be the plague wherewith Jehovah will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongues shall consume away in their mouth." Now, people always read this, but they don't read what is written after that. Now, you could put verse 13 before verse 12, and you could probably get an accurate assessment of what it's saying. So let's try that. "And it shall come to pass that a great tumult from Jehovah shall be among them." So he's going to cause a great tumult upon the Gentiles. "And they shall lay hold one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor." Then if we read verse 12, I think you get a more accurate assessment of what's really happening. So we see in verse 13 that a great tumult, chaos, and confusion will come from Jehovah against on the Gentiles, and what will they do? They will fight against each other. How? Now, it says, look, it says, and this is the plague, where Jehovah will smite all the people that fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. How did that happen? By every nation by the hand of his brother? Does that make sense? If you ever looked up, well, here's what I'll do. I'm going to keep that right there. We're going to go to Haggai 2. Just for reference. Verse 20, and again the word of Jehovah came unto Haggai in the 20th day. It says of the month, but it was the 9th month. Speak to Zerubbabel, governor of Yehuda, and saying, I will shake the heavens and the earth, and I will overthrow the throne of kingdoms, and I will destroy the strength of the kingdoms of the heathen, and I will overthrow the chariots and those that ride in them, and the horses and their riders shall come down every one by the sword of his brother. He's going to turn the Gentiles against each other. And they will have weapons that they will use against each other that is going to cause their flesh to consume away while they stand upon their feet. And their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. Yes? Why? How? Why? Because of a great tumult from Jehovah will be among them. That's how and why. And they will lay hold every one, the hand on his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. In other words, ally against ally, kingdom against kingdom. Now, where you read in verse 14, it cuts in, it says, and Judah shall also fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver, apparel of great abundance. And then it flips back to this plague. This is why the timeline, exact timeline is kind of, you gotta use good sense, common sense when you read this, okay? So this plague that falls upon these nations will also be upon their horses, their mules, their camels, their donkeys, and all the cattle. That word beast is behema. It's a beast, animal, cattle. So all their cattle that shall be in their encampment will be this blow, slaughter, plague, pestilence. Now, we have seen the footage of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, have we not? We have seen what happened to these people. While they were standing, their flesh burned away, and their eyes out of their sockets while they were standing. Nuclear weapons. Well, there's another scripture that I wanted to go to, and I just lost it in my head here. Tumult. Let me try, see if I can do. It's probably in Ezekiel 39. Might be 38. Yeah, it's 38. All right. Verse 21. From this great earthquake that we see in, as I pointed out yesterday, as we see in the sixth seal, it says, verse 20, so the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heaven and the beasts of the field and all the creeping things that creep upon the land and all the men that are upon the face of the land shall shake at my presence, and the mountains shall be cast down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground, and I will call for a sword against him. Throughout all my mountains, saith Jehovah Elohim, every man's sword shall be against his brother, and I will judge him with pestilence. This is the same pestilence that he is talking about in Zechariah. Did I lose my spot? Or Zechariah 14. Okay? And with blood, and I will rain upon him and his bands, and upon the many people that are with him, an overflowing rain, and great hailstones, fire, and brimstone. So not only are they going to be attacking each other with nuclear weapons, but at the same time, Jehovah is going to be raining down great hailstones, fire, and brimstone himself. You see. And why? See, the invasion, the Ezekiel 38-39 invasion, you see the players. We've gone over this many, many times before. Okay? Now, when this takes place, who do you think is going to come and try to take East Jerusalem? It's going to be Jordan, of course. It's them. Now, all the nations, let's see. So what we see entering into Syria right now, into the Battle of Idlib. Now we see China jumping in. China is bringing their military into the Battle of Idlib. You can go look it up. It's either on the Jerusalem Post or it's on Debka.com. One or the other. I think it's on the Jerusalem Post. And then if that wasn't enough, it's on Debka.com. I just didn't wait for the ticker. Well, where are you? All right, I'm just waiting for it to come up. It was posted yesterday, so it's already out of date. Yeah, China to join Idlib offensive took part in Russian Mediterranean drill. And then also yesterday we see that Germany is planning on joining the United States, France, yeah. Whose side are they going to be on? Well, they can't wait for the United States to remove themselves from the scene. But all the nations will be represented. Europe will be represented probably by NATO. In fact, I wanted to mention NATO. Let's have a look here. NATO signature, original, founders. Okay, here we go. All right, so here's NATO's founders. Norway, Italy, Iceland, United Kingdom, Portugal, Canada, Belgium, France, and the United States. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, there's more. Denmark, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. There were 12. I believe that there were 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, 12. Then, of course, a bunch more jumped aboard later. But what we essentially have is NATO representing Europe now. And I say instead of Rome, but don't believe me when I tell you it is Rome. It is. So, what's going to happen? Well, how it comes about is still a mystery. But there's going to be a great fight amongst each other. You can bet that there's going to be fighting amongst each other, Russia versus Turkey versus Iran. And then in NATO, with all the fracturing going on in NATO, do not be surprised if there's going to be fighting amongst each other there, and then fighting going on between NATO and the Russian alliance. A great tumult that Jehovah is going to cause, and they're going to be firing missiles at each other. So, what I was wanting to point out is that yes, our Father in heaven is going to rain down hailstones, blood, fire and brimstone, and a pouring rain from heaven. But these nations will also be firing their worst weapons at each other, causing the flesh to be melting off of their bones as they are standing, just like what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's going to be a very, very, very bad day for the world, but a very, very good day for Israel, because that day brings Israel's salvation and the kingdom, as the apostles were asking the Messiah. I think I'll go to that and then I'll stop here. Let's see. Yes, in verse 6, the disciples, they were back together with the Messiah once again. They were therefore come together, and they asked of him, saying, Master, will you at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? And he said unto them, It is not for you to know the times of the season which the Father has put in his own power. So you see, the disciples knew that the time of the fall of the Gentiles was the rising of Israel, was the kingdom once again being restored to Israel. That's what it's all about. That's what we're looking for. Israel's rise is the fall of this world, just as Israel's fall in the old days was the rise of this world.